I live in Madrid, which is just one of the 17 regions in Spain, each with a different climate, culture, and daily life. I'm exploring all 17 regions, not just as a travel guide, but as places you might actually want to live, like Extremadura. No beaches, no crowds, just lower cost of living, open space, and some of the best jamón on earth. But let's kick off in the deep south. With historic cities like Seville and Granada, smaller inland towns like Jaén, and a coastline ranging from very international in Malaga to much more local in Almuñécar, the variety in Andalusia is huge. But there's also a lot that ties this region together, layers of history and a shared southern rhythm, you know, the long days, the famously late nights, and the life outdoors. And I think Córdoba encapsulates for me the depth of history here. I can think of crossing the Roman bridge, you walk up to the former mosque that is now a cathedral, and it's all within the old Jewish quarter. And of course the food, espetos, grilling over open fires in Malaga, jamón ibérico from Huelva, and gazpacho on a scorching August day. Look, summers can be intense, especially inland. Transport links here are strong in the cities, but as I've said in other videos, I think a car really helps if you're off the main route. So I think Andalusia fits if warmth, history, and the Med are high on your list. Just take time to really understand the variety here. Okay, next, somewhere quieter and more affordable, potentially, Murcia. The regional capital, Murcia City, is a lively university town, and it's not overrun by tourism. To the south is the Costa Cálida, the warm coast with beach towns like Los Alcáceres that attract foreign retirees, but don't have the density or the prices that you'll find on the Costa Blanca. Also, I think check out Cartagena. It's an ancient port town with Roman ruins, a really walkable historic center, and I remember the beautiful seafront, and it's much more off the radar than Malaga or Alicante. Food-wise, the local specialty is caldero, a seafood rice dish that was originally cooked by fishermen on the beach. And look, it's the beach where you might want to spend some time in Murcia because summers get hot, but the mild winters are the flip side. Murcia City has its own airport with flights kind of mainly to the UK. There are some other destinations, and it's about 3 hours to Madrid by high-speed rail. So look, if you're looking for a Mediterranean escape that feels kind of off the radar, Murcia could really be worth checking out. Okay, now we head north to a region that is consistently a favorite for people who want to move to Spain. Hint, it is home to this country's third largest city and a very famous rice dish. Yep, the Valencia region. The capital hits the sweet spot for many. It's walkable, it's well connected, and more affordable than Barcelona and Madrid. Then you can head south to the Costa Blanca with seaside towns like Javia is popular and Denia, and Alicante City, which I really loved when I visited. It feels like a lower key version of Valencia. But it's not all seaside in the Comunidad Valenciana. You know, inland, sort of through the olive groves, there's mountain towns like Chulilla and historic Xàtiva, where I recently met up with a couple who moved from Maui. Overall, you can expect warm, dry summers on the coast, but of course, more extreme temperatures inland. I mean, the same across the whole coast. Paella is just one of the region's rice dishes. Arroz a banda, arroz negro, arroz al horno. There are so many more to discover. Transport-wise, Valencia City is about 2 hours to Madrid by train and about 2.5 to Alicante City, and you've got airports with European connections. Plus, there's a great tram that runs from Alicante up to Denia, which is helpful for hopping up the coast. So I think Valencia City is really worth exploring if you want a Mediterranean city life that feels livable but not too overwhelming, just the right size. And the wider region is worth exploring for really great coastal towns that are actually often cheaper than the Costa del Sol. Now, we continue our journey north to one of my favorite regions in Spain. But first, if you're planning a move here or you're just curious about what's actually involved, I'm running a free webinar where I'll walk you through the 7 secrets to a successful move to Spain. In the webinar, we'll cover the whole journey from getting clear on your timeline to visas, finances, choosing a location, finding a home, and creating a landing plan so you don't arrive and just sort of have to wing it. And during the webinar, I'll also open enrollment for my Move to Spain Masterclass, where I help you plan your move to Spain with a full step-by-step roadmap, live expert sessions, and a supportive community. But whether you're interested in the masterclass or not, come to the webinar. I think you're going to find it really valuable. It's completely free. You do have to register for it. So to do that, click on this QR or go to spainrevealed.com/Spain webinar, or the link is in the description down below. And if you can't make it live, register anyway, and I'll email you the recording the next day. Okay, one of my favorite regions, Catelonia, famous for Barcelona, right? And Barcelona gets a really bad rap. Expensive, lots of tourists, sure, but it also has deep history, modernist architecture, wide beaches, wonderful food. And there are plenty of neighborhoods outside the tourist hub that could be great for living. But there are also more options in this region. To the north, beautiful Girona is popular with cyclists. The Costa Brava is full of rocky coves and charming small towns. And to the south, Tarragona is a lower key option. And just down from Barcelona is Sitges, long an LGBTQIA+ hub. One of my favorite Catalan memories was a road trip Yoli and I did. We rode bikes through stone villages, drank wine in Priorat, and lazed around in Cadaqués, beautiful sunsets. And I'm a diehard calçots fan. These are flame grilled like spring onions, I'll be killed for saying that, that are dipped in a nutty romesco sauce and followed by an epic meat and wine feast. And for connectivity, Barcelona connects to Madrid in under 3 hours, Paris in just under 7, and the airport is Spain's second busiest. And importantly, the climate here is milder than further south, if that's important to you. But one thing to know, Catalan is spoken widely outside the big cities, and especially in the northern part. So if you're willing to study up the language to really immerse yourself and pay a bit more for this pricier region, Catalonia with Barcelona, a beautiful coastline, and the mountain access to the north could be a good bet. Next, let's push out our boat and set sail for the Balearics, a cluster of islands between Spain and Italy. Mallorca is the largest island. The capital, Palma, has a metro, hospitals, international schools, I guess making it the most practical for full-time living. And then there's Ibiza, which is obviously famous for its nightlife, but it's so much more than that. And actually the northern part of the island, we were there a few summers ago, is much quieter with villages like Santa Gertrudis, which has an artist community. Then there's Menorca, which is calmer, known for its pristine coastline, and has a full 185-kilometer trail that loops the whole island. Food-wise, you might have tried Mallorca's famous ensaimada, this sort of huge, flaky spiral pastry that I just know is bad for me, but I can't stop when I have a huge one in front of me just ripping bits off. For transport, ferries connect to the mainland, and Mallorca and Ibiza airports have flights really across Europe. But heads up, housing is expensive here, and long-term rentals are hard to find. So while the Balearics work for building a wonderful Mediterranean island life, and they are gorgeous, do be ready for higher cost of living, a seasonal rhythm, and some housing challenges. Okay, let's swoop back to the mainland and check out one of Spain's most overlooked regions, Aragon. The capital, Zaragoza, is Spain's 4th largest city, one of its most affordable, and a real up-and-comer. We were there recently. Handily, high-speed rail connects it to Madrid and Barcelona in around 90 minutes, which makes it perfect for a weekend trip to either big city. And then as you go north, northern Aragon really opens up into the Pyrenees. Huesca is a highly livable historic city in the mountains' foothills. Then there's towns like Jaca and Ainsa, which really are true high mountain life living. Food-wise here, locals are really proud of ternasco, which is lamb that's slow cooked in wood fire ovens. And as a Kiwi who tried it for the first time recently, it is some of the best lamb I've had in Spain. Zaragoza and parts of the region are though known for their tough climate, hot summers, cold winters, and the cierzo wind, a wind that has its own name, that whips through. Having said that, I asked locals about this when we were there, and they told me it's kind of overplayed online. So it's still worth checking this region out, even if maybe you hate the wind. I think Aragon is worth a look if you want affordability, fast train access to the big cities, and easy access to nature right on your doorstep. Just be aware there are fewer English speakers here in terms of, your integration plan. Okay, our next stop is often overlooked, but actually consistently ranks as the most livable region in Spain. Yep, it's Navarre, or Navarre in English. Pamplona is the capital. It's known for obviously the running of the bulls, and it's a decent-sized provincial city. Importantly though, it's not on a fast train route, but there are slower rail links with Madrid and other cities. So to the north of Pamplona, you'll find yourself deep in the Pyrenees, while down south it's a little drier, a little flatter, a little more agricultural. And for food, this is home home to the famous pimientos de piquillo, these sweet roasted peppers that my mother-in-law stuffs with pork, and they're really, really good. Climate-wise, we're quite far north here, so summers aren't too hot, but winters can be cold, especially in the mountain. Overall, Navarre is a bit of a wild card, but I think it's worth considering if you want something really off the beaten path, and maybe easy access to the mountains is important for you. Next up, Spain's smallest mainland region. You can drive end to end in just over an hour, and along the way, you're going to see rolling hills covered in vineyards producing Spain's most famous red wine. Yep, you guessed it, La Rioja. Most people who move here end up in Logroño, which is the capital. It's charming, walkable, affordable, with good infrastructure, a great town. And for wine lovers, there's Aro, which is the historic wine capital. It's about 40 minutes from Logroño, and several major wineries are literally within stumbling distance, as I discovered a few years ago in a video with my mate Phil. Great memories. But another cherished memory is tapas crawling also along Calle Laurel, which is in Logroño, and it's just so many tapas bars, cheek by jowl, and each doing one tapa as their specialty. The climate here is continental, which means hot summers and cold winters, and Logroño is connected by train to Madrid and obviously its airport in just over 3.5 hours. Bilbao is about 3 hours. So I think La Rioja has potential if you want affordability, you're into small city living, and you're tickled by the idea of, living in the heart of famous Spanish wine country. But from small to Spain's largest region by size, and one that very few people consider, Castile y León. It has some really livable historic cities, names you will know. There's Salamanca, with a lively student town with a huge historic center that hasn't been touristified. Segovia obviously is a little more touristy. It has the Roman aqueduct, the incredible aqueduct that runs straight through town. But I have friends who used to live there and they loved it. And then there's León, which has its famous huge cathedral with 13th century stained glass still in place. And then there's Valladolid, the regional capital, which is kind of big enough to have everything you need, but still has a little bit of a sense of a smallish city living, and a sense of community. Outside the cities, you've got big skies and open plains, and the food here is robust, like the famous suckling pig that is, so famous in Segovia particularly. Winters are cold, the summers can be hot, and obviously there's no coastline to fall back on. But I think the cities work well, infrastructure is solid, and you can be in Madrid from Valladolid by fast train in just under an hour. Castile y León, I think, is worth exploring if you want, affordability, deep historic Spain, but you want to be within somewhat easy reach of Madrid and of the North Coast as well. Speaking of Madrid, of course, my hometown, and the one that Hemingway called the most Spanish of cities, and I think that's because it's actually been shaped by people from every region of Spain, from people moving here to kind of make their fortune, make their life. And nowadays, people moving from all over the world. It's really international now. I cut my teeth on food tours here and still love squeezing into the bustling tapas bars for cold vermouth and shared raciones, tapas. And while this historic center is charming, it's not always practical for building a life. So a little further out, there's Chamberí, which is a really popular neighborhood for people moving here. Barrio Salamanca is upscale, kind of Upper East Side. And then the area around Madrid Rio, the Madrid River, is a really lovely up-and-coming area, really popular with families. But keep in mind that Madrid is also a region, a small one, but it has satellite towns outside the city itself. So as you go north towards the mountains, you've got places like Pozuelo, Torrelodones that offer a bit more space, access to nature, and they're within striking distance of the city. Transport here is excellent. Madrid is the national train hub with a world-class metro, Barajas Airport, which pretty much connects you with almost anywhere. And yeah, the climate here is more extreme than the coast, obviously, but I think the low humidity helps make it comfortable. It's pretty dry here, which makes it easier. And I think Madrid generally is just wonderful if you're looking for big city life in the heart of Spain, world-class infrastructure, nightlife, career opportunities, and yeah, you don't need a beach. But if you do need the beach and you want something a little more wild than the Med, then welcome to Galicia. Think rolling hills, deep forests, Celtic roots, and yeah, right on the Atlantic. It's kind of like more Ireland than Andalusia. Santiago de Compostela, you would have heard of it, is the spiritual heart and the end point of the Camino, but there's Some really interesting cities here worth checking out. Pontevedra is one, which is growing in popularity. And there's also inland Orense, which is a beautiful city. The coastline here is famous for its rias, which are wide estuaries known for fantastic seafood, which really takes me back a few summers ago. We rented a place in Galicia, and I remember enjoying unlabeled albariño and hand-cracked necora crabs. I was terrible at it, on a terrace overlooking the Rias Baixas. It was amazing. For travel, the AVE, it's not bad. Santiago links Madrid in just about 3 hours, and you also have Porto Airport in Portugal, which is an option for international flights. I think Galicia could be for you if you're looking for something greener, a sort of a calmer Spain, and you don't mind a bit of rain. Speaking of which, the rain, let's stay in the slightly wetter north and head east to a region that I really love, Asturias. In Asturias, a huge draw here is just the outdoors. You're sort of wedged between the sea and the mountains. There's the dramatic Picos de Europa mountains, which are called the Peaks of Europe because it's the first European landmass that sailors would see when they were coming back from the New World. So I've read. Most people live in one of 3 mid-sized cities. There's Oviedo, which is inland, a little more kind of polished. Gijón, which is coastal, maybe a bit more creative. Avilés is smaller and quietly gaining in popularity. And you can move between all of them in about 30 minutes or so. Here, I love the cider. You can buy a bottle, but each gulp, literally per gulp, is poured by the bartender, which means it really creeps up on you because you can't control your drinking. And it pairs perfectly with the famous mountain-aged Cabrales cheese, which is really strong and I love it. It can be rainy here, but obviously the summers are mild, and the high-speed train, it's just recently been extended here, it gets you to Madrid in just over 3 hours. I think Asturias is an option if you want access to green Spain, rural environment, mountain escapes, and a handful of really smart, livable, beautiful cities. But if Galicia and Asturias are well known, the next one is northern as well, but it's a lot more actually under the radar, and that's Cantabria. On the coast, you've got Santander, the capital of Cantabria, which is a really elegant capital, but also with a city beach. It's a great combo. The rural landscape more inland is lush valleys, and I remember sort of dotted with stone villages. And the region is also home to these extraordinary cave paintings called the Altamira cave paintings. They're also sort of known as the Sistine Chapel of Paleolithic art. And if you hate anchovies, and I know many of you do, you haven't tried the ones from here. They're not salty, and you could say they're as elegant as Santander. I was served them in Santander straight from a tin in a local bar this summer. I loved it. I just whacked with a toothpick. So the capital is well connected by ferry to the UK, and there's an airport with flights to the UK and Europe as well. But something to keep in mind, housing can be pricier here in Cantabria than Asturias or Galicia. So I think Cantabria can fit in if you're curious about northern Spain and you want to look beyond the usual choices, Galicia, Asturias, then check out Cantabria. Okay, so here's a hint about our next region. See if you can guess. The local language, Euskera, has no known relatives. I'll give you a moment. Have you got it? Yes, the Basque Country, which has been home to the Basque people since before the Romans. Now, you don't need Euskera or Basque to live here, but it's going to help your integration, and the locals will obviously appreciate it. City-wise, San Sebastian is famous, elegant, compact, great food, so many Michelin-star restaurants, the Pincho bars, but it's small and it is kind of pricey. So I really love Bilbao, which is larger, a little more cost-effective, and has undergone a really impressive urban rejuvenation over the last few decades. Then there's Vitoria, a cheaper and lesser-known inland option to the south, actually the administrative capital, and all 3 cities are really walkable and have really good transport links. Of course, as you probably know, the Basques are very serious about their food, and the Pincho bars, you move from bar to bar, sampling these bite-sized creations washed down with Chacoli, the local white. I want to go to the Basque Country. And yes, of course, we're in the north, so this is a very green region thanks to the wonderful rain that will invariably accompany your life here. So you just have to be okay with that. Plus, be aware that the Basque Country isn't cheap, so factor that into your budget. It's one of the more expensive regions in Spain. Okay, next, from buzzing Pincho bars to a very different scene. Think crazy nights tilting at windmills. Welcome to Castilla-La Mancha, I can't really do it in English, Don Quixote country, which is really like this vast land of plains, quiet villages, and one of the largest wine regions in Europe. Much of the region here is deeply rural, but there's also urban hubs and there's variety. Toledo is famous and stunning, but I guess it's more of a tourist city. But you've also got other options like Albacete, and I recently actually got an email from someone who's considering Cuenca, which is famous for its hanging houses, and they were looking for a place to live that was a little off the beaten path. And these towns I've mentioned, they are cheaper and they offer a slower pace of life. They are off the beaten path. Just know that you will need to learn Spanish if you want to integrate. Of course, this region is famous for manchego cheese, but I have a great memory of eating carcamusas. I love saying the word carcamusas. It's this hearty pork stew on a cold day in a Toledo tavern. It was great. The climate here is continental. You've got your hot summers and cold winters, and obviously more extreme than the coast. So I'd say Castilla-La Mancha is worth considering if you want quiet, affordable, sort of historic Spain with a really strong sense of space and place, I guess. Next, we're in Spain's least visited region, Extremadura. It borders Portugal and stretches across kind of rolling hills and oak forests. And most people here in Extremadura live in a couple of mid-sized cities, which are about 30 minutes by train apart. There's Mérida and Cáceres. Mérida is the regional capital. It's smaller and quieter, and the Roman theater, which is astounding, is still used today for productions. Cáceres is larger, has a university, maybe a little livelier, and with a beautifully preserved old town. For food lovers, this is black pig country, the acorn-fed indigenous breed that produces the famous jamón ibérico that I know you love, and I ate a lot at Christmas this year. And it's also a region known for its striking beauty. So people flock here from around Spain to the Jerte Valley in the spring for the cherry blossoms that are gorgeous. There's also the Vera Valley, which is home to the smoky pimentón that we put on so many dishes. Transport-wise, and much to the annoyance of the extremeños from this region, train connectivity here is not good. So a car is going to come in handy. So I think in short, if you're searching for deep Spain with lower costs, fewer tourists, and a really more rural place, then I think Extremadura could be for you. Rounding off the list, we jump back in our boat, push out and head for the Canary Islands. So sitting off the coast of Morocco, they've got year-round warmth, and each of the main islands really has its own vibe. There's Tenerife and Gran Canaria. These are the most developed, with hospitals and universities, international schools. And then there's Lanzarote, which is quieter and has those striking volcanic landscapes. And then the smaller islands are greener, and I think people are drawn there for the sense of space and nature. Interestingly, Tenerife is actually home to Spain's highest mountain, the volcanic Mount Teide. Talking about food, something that I always think of from this region, really famous, is the papas arrugas. These are these wrinkled potatoes that are served with a spicy mojo sauce. One fact that obviously conditions life here on the Canaries is that it's a 2 to 3 hour flight to the mainland. Keep that in mind, obviously, though do know that residents do benefit from highly subsidized flights. Overall, I think the Canaries suit people who prioritize climate and island life and are comfortable being a little removed from the Spanish mainland. Look, finding the right location is just one part of a successful move to Spain. If you want to learn the other 6 key pieces, then I'd love you to join me in my upcoming free webinar where I'll share my 7 secrets to moving to Spain successfully. So click this QR or go to spainrevealed.com/Spain webinar, or the link is in the description. We'll see you there, and I'll see you in the next video, which is popping up over here. All right, hasta luego, ciao.